Hello people, Marshall Thomas here, talking about the 28th Amendment and what this movement is about. No great civilization has ever been conquered by foreign enemies. First it's hollowed out and decays from within, and then an outside force applies pressure and the empire collapses. Western civilization will always be more dynamic and productive than our enemies, these authoritarian regimes. We are better able, the democracies, Western civilization, we are better able to innovate, to invent. We correct our mistakes in organization and our processes. Our corrections are better, they're faster. One element is the dynamism of Protestantism, where people live to work and they don't work to live, where people question authority. We have a tradition of dissent. This is critical. Another crucial element is technology and military superiority. Now, in order to maintain this technological dynamism and military superiority, it is necessary to manufacture and to innovate using materials science expertise to improve our existing tool set and the weapons, and to invent new tools and new weapons. Now, this may sound rather superficial, but materials science processing and the constant improvement of manufacturing is a critical component. Once the manufacturing base is lost, then the ability to maintain military superiority will follow. By allowing our society to be de-industrialized, we have hollowed out our society, resulting in poverty, hopelessness, dysfunction, and ultimately vulnerability to our enemies. Now, Russia and China are not necessarily the evil empires of old, but Russia and China are not benign forces in human history. They are authoritarian regimes. They are a direct threat to the idea and the fact of representative government and free and open societies, Russia and China as they currently exist. Now, we have been hoping for a transformational process in Russia and China. This has not come about. Now, to see them, these authoritarian regimes, as equivalent or, quote, no less evil than the West, or no less evil than America, unquote, is to engage in a cultural relativism that is intellectually dishonest and potentially suicidal. Britain, France, and Spain were locked in a battle to control the world for several hundred years. Britain eventually won, not because the size of their military, but because their industrial revolution was more intense and productive in the late 1600s. By the 1500s and the 1600s, they began to pull away from their competition in the Industrial Revolution. In the late 1600s, you could only navigate at sea imperfectly. Using existing navigational instruments, it was possible for sailors leaving Europe and heading to the New World to fix their exact location in terms of how far north or south they had traveled. However, determining exactly how far east or west they had progressed, how far they had traveled east, the longitude, this was unknown. It was unknowable exactly, and many disasters occurred because of this gap in technology, in science. In 1684, the French sought to establish a large settlement at the mouth of the Mississippi River in order to control the entire western United States. La Salle the explorer led 4 ships and 300 settlers, but they overshot their mark. They went too far west and arrived lost in Matagorda Bay, far to the west, in Texas instead of Louisiana. The entire French expedition was wiped out, lost to weather, hunger, disease, and Indian attacks. If they had navigated successfully and had established a large settlement as planned at the mouth of the Mississippi when they tried, France might have eventually displaced England in the New World as planned. England succeeded where France failed because of technological expertise. A prize equal to $3 million was offered by the government to solve the navigation problem. A common man, a self-educated watchmaker named John Harrison, was able to create a clock, a chronometer, that could work in the extreme conditions of maritime navigation. It took him more than 30 years, but his invention gave England an incredible advantage. His feat of engineering and manufacturing and invention was unparalleled even by the geniuses of the age who tried and failed to solve this problem. It was solved by a self-taught manufacturer and inventor. What if England had moved all of its clock manufacturing to France for, say, financial reasons? Today, America might be populated in part by French-speaking peoples. It might have been the location of 2 or more separate nations with unforeseeable consequences. Western civilization triumphs because of many different factors, but integral to all of these is military superiority. Other hostile empires are able to buy or steal Western military technology and use it to achieve a temporary advantage, but the faster pace of innovation inherent in democracy and a climate of intellectual freedom, when combined with initiative of the individual, is usually able to adapt and overcome. Democracy only exists because it was not strangled in its cradle by the Persian Empire in 480 BC, when it was barely 30 years old. Themistocles convinced the Athenians to build a fleet of hundreds of specially designed warships called triremes. It was a secret weapon used to destroy the massive Persian fleet at the Battle of Salamis. It was a crucial moment in history, and if this technological superiority and initiative had not taken place on the part of Themistocles, democracy and all of human history would have been altered fundamentally. It is seductive to see the world as a peaceful and civilized place. But history teaches us something different altogether. The ordered world that we inhabit in the West is a gentle and egalitarian universe, but it exists outside the laws of nature, and the laws of nature still hold sway in this troubled world. It is best to acknowledge the world as it really is, not as how we wish it to be. Nowhere is it written in stone that the United States of America and that Western civilization and the West, our allies, must continue to exist in peace or to exist at all. As our pioneer forefathers were very fond of saying, "You must dance with them that brung ya." Translation: we exist only because our dynamic technological and military superiority, both back in 480 BC and at other critical time points in history. This gift of technological dynamism and diversity comes from the genius of our craftsmen, our tradesmen, and our inventors like John Harrison. These young people who remember the lessons of history, these young people today who remember the lessons of history will not be cursed to repeat the lessons of history. These are hard lessons. The future people of responsibility who forget these lessons of history are cursed to repeat its most tragic hours. Where are the wise men and women to lead us out of this maze of confusion and self-doubt? Themistocles is gone, 2,500 years. George Washington and Lincoln are long gone. FDR and JFK are no more. Who among us will rise to the challenge of this age and redeem our great civilization, the last best hope of the human race? Western civilization deserves a lot better than we're getting. God bless.